So when we first started dating, we had different communication styles, right? And
very true.
I forget who brought it up first, but we started talking about the 5 love languages. And we had both actually taken the test before, right?
I think so,
I think you had taken it, I had taken it.
And I definitely feel like even without taking the test, I really know what I appreciate and what I also give to other people. Yeah,
and it's interesting, like, to know what your own love language is, and then to like tell someone else that, because if the other person, I think, like when we first started dating, we weren't giving each other the love language that person wanted.
What do you mean, Abe?
I think more of like we give the love language that we want, right?
Yeah.
So
definitely.
Yeah, like I like a specific love language, and I was giving that love language to you, which is not your love language.
Yeah, and I think that's where like issues or challenges can come up, because maybe you're thinking, I'm giving so much love,
right?
But that person is feeling like
they don't
love me.
I'm like, I'm giving you everything.
They're not giving me what I need. So I think a discussion about that is really helpful, right?
So today we're talking about love languages. Welcome back to Brewed Together. And I'm Abe.
And I'm Alexa.
And we're going to dive deep into love languages. We took a couple of tests, really 2 tests, like I said, a couple. And we didn't share our results yet with each other.
No.
We know our previous results from like 4 years ago or however long it was. It's been a couple of years since we've taken the tests.
Yeah.
So what was we took 2 tests, like I said, and the reason we took 2 was not because we wanted different results or anything, but because all of the tests we found seemed to want money. And
yes, and the first test, I went through the whole thing. I felt like the questions were good. I was like, yes, I'm going to get, I'm going to understand the 5 love languages and which suit me. But it asked for $40 at the end, and it said it was 20% off.
Yeah. And that was
to get the result.
That was off the actual 5 love languages site.
Yeah, definitely. And to be honest, I was not willing to pay $40, and I think I took the test first and then told you how much it was going to.
Quicker, I think.
Oh, okay. You started it. But yeah, so did not want to pay that much money. But the next test, which I think was from a site called Yourself, which I'm not super familiar with, was $195 to get the results. So we did pay to get the results. Yeah.
So I don't know. The 5 love languages, we kind of went back and forth when we were talking about this podcast about, like, there's more ways to love than 5 ways, right? And then, people are always trying to put people into boxes and things like that. So
for sure.
We looked into the founder of the 5 love languages.
Yeah.
And his name, I think it was, let me look, I can't remember now. I think his name was Gary. But he created it in 1992. He wasn't actually, he's not like a credited therapist or anything. He's actually like a Baptist pastor. And so I think, from my understanding, he did like marriage counseling and things like that in the church. And he came up with, from his counseling experience and such, these 5 love languages.
Yeah.
So I'm just looking here. I wanted to say his name because it's kind of interesting. So, I can't find it. But
Gary Chapman.
Gary Chapman.
That's his name.
So, there's, different boxes that people always try to put people into, and the 5 love languages, one of those boxes. Really just don't take it at face value. Read between the lines.
Yeah, and also, if you're in a relationship, talk with your partner or in a friend. I mean, love languages can come into play even in friendship and, other types of relationships, but mainly in relationships, and speak with your partner and see what they need, because you won't know until, you ask or you understand kind of the ways that they like to receive love. Yeah. And actually, if you're not familiar with what the 5 love languages, what they are, it is acts of service, receiving gifts, quality time, words of affirmation, and physical touch. So what way do you think, out of those 5, what way do you like to receive love?
Yeah, so actually I want to turn it around. Let's guess what each other's love languages are. So I already know, like previously, your love language was words of affirmation and quality time. And I think that's still going to hold true in your the tests that we just took. Is that correct?
Yeah, so I would say, I still love both of those things. I'm not much of a gifts person, but to add, I would say acts of service actually is
like doing one of them the dishes, or making the bed, things like that.
You know, if I'm having a bad day and I need to go run an errand and you instead go run that errand for me.
That was a question that kept popping up on this test.
I know. I noticed that too, and I kept clicking it. I was like, I really like that. Like, I appreciate if I need to go to, like, drop off a package or something, that you go do that if I was having a bad day, or maybe I had a bad commute or something like that. That means a lot to me. I think actions for me speak louder than words, even though I do like words of affirmation. For you, I would say physical touch.
That's
is one
what
of
it
them.
was. It's not anymore.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It changed on both tests. I got the same thing. It's quality time.
Oh, well, I was going to add to that.
Quality time.
Yeah, quality time for sure. Physical touch. I don't think words of affirmation do as much for you as they do for me. I think you like gifts, but it's not like, we don't do a lot of exchanging of gifts. No. That's not a big thing to us.
No.
I think you like some acts of service, right?
Yeah, like when you wash dishes, and that's one of my like in terms of like pet peeves and stuff. That's a whole nother podcast. But leaving out like, and it's not even like dishes so much. It's like literally pots and pans that have been cooked in the stuff. And like cups and bowls and stuff like that. I don't know. The pots and pans is really what I really like.
Yeah. As far as acts of service too, I think you like when I help you when you're working on your car or with your bike.
That was one of the other things that one of the questions that kept popping up was, do you like when your partner does another new hobby with you or helps you out with like a certain situation?
I even saw a question about a bike.
I saw that one as well on a bike ride. I've been into biking a lot lately.
Yeah.
So, and we did go on a very mini bike ride, like a mile, 2 miles. And
can I ask you a question though? How there's ways where you like to receive love, but are the ways that you give love the same?
No, like I said, I think we always try to give love on how we want to be loved, right? Yeah. And so I think, because it's like you think of the golden rule, it's do unto others as you would like to be done unto yourself.
Yeah.
But that's not the way love languages work. It's do unto others how they would want to be done unto them. Really.
Yeah. Treat people how they want to be treated.
Because
not
how
everyone, you want to treat them.
Not everyone, or not even how you want to be treated. Yeah. Because everyone's so different. And so that's the kind of the problem with the 5 love languages. Like there's so many, and plus
there's nuance.
There's nuance, and then also not every, even though I like quality time, it doesn't mean I don't like physical touch or like gifts or anything else.
Right.
So it's just, I think, kind of being aware, and like beauty of the 5 love languages is it gets people talking about it. Like, what is your love language? Because prior to that, I don't know, like if people, always talked about it. It probably has helped spur conversations.
Well, I think sometimes putting a name to something can help, like, create a conversation.
Yeah.
If people don't have the names, like they don't have 5 love languages and this is what they are, then they don't always know how to express kind of what that means to them.
Yeah. The other thing I was thinking about was like there's 5 love languages, and there's also 5 senses, which I thought was kind of interesting. Like 3 of the senses line up with the 3 of the love languages, but anyway, there's an interesting parallel I was kind of thinking about there.
The quiz that I took, it says that my love language is the encouraging supporter love style. That's what it said for me. And then it broke down different things. So it had full pages.
Yeah, I had like full pages as well on mine.
Oh, did it say it at the end what it was?
No, it was like full pages on quality time. It was like 4 or 5 pages on that.
I mean, just some like highlights of what mine said. It was kind of like, love is less about flashy romance. It's more about like showing up for your partner in different ways. And I think it really highlighted quality time, but also like being very supportive and making sure you're empowered. So I'm not sure where that fits into those 5
Well, also that's kind of like
languages.
Nice because it's not fitting you into the 5 love languages. It's giving you like another love language, I guess.
Yeah.
Outside the 5.
Yeah. So yeah, and it didn't really like fit me into a box that way. I think being like the encouraging supporter can cover multiple, aspects of those different love languages. So that's kind of what I read. It didn't really have sections that stated exactly what the love language was, though. Right. I don't know.
Also, we're not like paying all this money for it, which is like unfortunate that they don't give you all the information. Because I thought it was kind of free. I thought it was free at one point. Maybe it was, and then now it's not. Yeah. And I know it's been revamped a couple of times and such, and it's been 30 years, I think, 1992, over 30 years. Yeah. So, it's just. Also, I think the love languages, maybe it's kind of curious on like how they come about, right? Because like, does it come like from our childhood, or does it like,
part of it is?
Yeah, I mean, I guess because like, how do you learn to love? I suppose.
Yeah, you learn from what you see. You learn from examples.
Yeah.
I think your childhood and your development in that time is so crucial and important for how you are as an adult, what you understand to be true, how you kind of are in relationships to other people, whether that's like romantic or platonic. So I think it impacts us quite a bit.
Yeah, it's also kind of interesting, like again, the 5 love languages, we keep talking about that, but then they try to do like other things like, what's your work language and things like that, and like
that's a whole different thing.
Other things, and like those are other relationships as well. It's all about communication.
Yeah.
So,
for sure.
Kind of the other thing we wanted to talk about is when we first started dating, we realized we had different communication styles, and one of the ways we kind of like we talked about it, and then we found that putting it down in writing really helped us, and so. What we did was we said, these are the things that like totally irritate me, and these are the things that I like. And then we wrote them down on our wrote on a piece of paper and put them on our fridge.
And they are still there to this day.
And then we revamped them, I think, like a year ago.
Yeah.
So, actually, let me grab those and we'll see what they are. Because I don't know that we've actually looked at these in a little bit.
Yeah, I feel like some of these, they don't make sense for us now. I think we've evolved quite a bit from when we actually wrote these. And I don't even remember what we wrote for the second round of doing this either.
So I'll fold it here. I'll read the old one first.
Just read some highlights. You don't need to read every single thing.
We don't want to tell everyone our business.
Yeah, we don't need to show up and display all of our secrets.
For me, I wanted to be together.
What does be together mean?
Be together, like spend quality time, right? Have a healthy relationship physically and mentally. And then like be equals in people. Like I am not going to totally wear the pants in the relationship all the time. Sometimes I don't want to wear the pants.
Yeah.
I'm like, here. Yeah. Or you take it. And so like to be able to switch back and forth. That was one of mine. Hold on, I'm not done.
Oh, okay, sorry.
And then Alexa's at the time was let Alexa be. So like give her time. That I guess that wasn't mine so much that Alexa, but I put that on mine.
I feel like we went back and forth and we're writing things related to the other one.
Yeah, and so that was more of like letting you have your quality time alone.
Yeah. Just and my alone time.
Yeah, your alone time, which everyone needs. And then my other one was to be like have a clean apartment, which it's so hard to do in an apartment. It's just really, I like things like I think most people, and it's just so easy to collect things.
Yeah.
So here,
Is that a love language, would you say, having a clean space? I
think so. Partially, like more of like, would that be acts of service, like putting things away?
Yeah, maybe? Probably.
If we're gonna try to put it into a box.
Yeah, we don't have to, but I'm thinking, how does that relate to like a love language or a love style?
Like, I guess, that's taking time out of like the other person's day to put things away, I guess.
Yeah. Some of mine were likes to do things together and separate. I am an introvert and I like to have alone time. I like my space to just, sometimes I like to be in dark spaces where I turn down the lights and that just, I don't know, it's almost like a stress reliever for me. And then just to focus on one task.
And I thought that was so odd. I was like, what are you doing sitting in the bedroom with the lights off in the day when the sun is outside and you got the curtains pulled? I thought you weren't depressed.
I just needed that time to, I don't know what it does for me. It just helps me unwind. Decompress. And I think...
I mean, I kind of get it more now, honestly. But in the beginning, I didn't.
So one thing that Abe likes is he likes a lot of light on. Yep. And I am the complete opposite. And so sometimes I think, you'll have all the lights on and I'll be like, why are we having all these lights on? It's almost like it's too much for me to look at.
Stimulating?
Yes, that's the perfect word for that. Too stimulating for me. And having less stimulation just puts me at ease. Yes, I love to do things together. Of course, we're married. We spend a lot of time together and it's great to do that. But I also need time to unwind. And I think that you appreciate that too when you have time to unwind by yourself or go on a bike ride or whatever.
I think I forget about it more of like, like when I go and do it, I'm like, but then one of the things I forgot to read down there was don't be like obsessive or like, what did I write exactly? Don't be neurotic and obsessive. And people might think that's like controlling, but it's not that. It's more of like, I get obsessed with like a specific like topic. And so more of like, so I'm really into biking right now. And so I'll just watch only biking videos and I'll read only biking articles.
Right.
And you're like, and then Alexa's like, I don't want to hear any more about bikes
really don't.
at all.
I really don't.
So it's not so much like obsessive about the other person. It's like obsessive about a topic.
Yeah. Which is good.
Yeah.
But also that obsession, sometimes it can be like, I need to get this task done and I'm not going to stop until I get it done, which is great. I think that's great that you get things done like that. But at the same time, it could take hours and hours and hours and hours, and then your whole day is gone.
Yeah.
So
that's true.
That's kind of.
I mean, that's one of the things I've learned from you is like to let things be, like let it be, right? Like let it be.
And we actually have a sign in our kitchen that says "Let it be" we got from the fair.
And like it's okay if it takes a day or two. Yeah, that's one of the things I think I've learned from you in terms of our relationship is to take some time and everything doesn't have to be rushed.
Yeah, definitely. For my other ones, I put always do exciting things together, try new things, which I think Abe and I are really good about. We like to get out to events, go to restaurants, and I think that's been highlighted in our previous videos that we like to do a lot of different things on our, on the weekends and during the week and things like that. One of my other big ones was don't compare me.
Oh, yeah.
And I think it's really important. Abe and I didn't have as much relationship experience prior. So we had a lot of different conversations as we're getting to know each other and that kind of thing. And I think sometimes we had maybe assumptions about how each other had to be.
Sure.
Which I think can happen in any
I
relationship.
think that happens in a lot of relationships.
Yeah.
I mean, that happens in regular life, not even like romantic relationships.
Right.
Like you're like your coworker. My coworker should be like this.
Right. Right.
Or,
so, yeah, I think we make assumptions about people, but I think my thing in putting it on this list was just because somebody else does it, don't expect me to be like that.
Yeah.
Sometimes, when we grow up in our families, we expect things to be one way.
Sure. And like when you grow up in your families, you have like your parents as role models or like your siblings as role models or whatever.
And that's what you know.
And that you're like, that's how
you need to be now. Yeah. And that's not true.
Yeah.
Everybody's so different in how they grew up
or
their interactions with other people, how they are in the world, in their work,
and that's
in their personal life.
Again, like getting out of the boxes. Like
so that was a big thing for me too. Like, and when I say like, let me be, or I want you to be how you are, I want us to accept each other, as we are and who we are, as we came into the relationship. Those were kind of the big ones.
What we wrote out 4 years ago still stands for the most part, because I think they're like really, for me at least, they're like core to like who we are.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. So, I think, a lot of these still make sense. Some, because we're not going to share everything, I think are a little different now. But I think that just comes with relationships evolving and changing, and we're not exactly the same people that we were 4.5 years ago. Yeah.
And kind of the joke that Alexa and I came up with is like, you're Alexa 1.0 or Alexa 2.0 or Abe, 3.0 or whatever.
Yeah. I think one thing that's played a big role in us understanding our love languages and how we communicate with each other has also been therapy. Yeah.
You did how many years of therapy? 4? 3? You're still doing it?
I still do it. But I do it way less. So I think I've done it for 3 years now. I think I started like September 2021. I think that's been great in just helping us understand how to communicate with one another. We don't go to therapy together. We do it separately. No. I think it's nice to be able to say, this is how I acted in this situation. How could I have been better about this? And just talking it out with a third party has been so helpful because they're removed from the situation. Yeah. They don't know. And they're like, well, maybe you could do this instead.
Right.
Like one thing specifically that I learned in therapy is when it comes to our communication styles, I would say like I'm more assertive. I'm assertive and passive, and it really depends on the situation. When it comes to that, sometimes Abe wants to discuss something right away. Where we're having a challenge or something. And
I'm like, let's get to the root of the problem right now.
Yeah, and for me, I'm ready. A lot of times I need to think before I speak. I need to like have some time actually where I step away from that conversation and I come back. And I never really knew that I needed to do that. I sometimes would like go away completely and I would want to drop the situation and not discuss it fully. Just one thing that I've learned is just to maybe even just set a time and say, I will revisit this conversation with you. Give me like 10 minutes or something.
Originally, I think when we first started dating, it was like you wanted a day or two. Then I was like on the opposite end of the spectrum. And I was like, I want it now within seconds. And so there was a big disconnect of like seconds versus days.
Yeah. And it wasn't really, I don't think it was like super often or anything, but I just needed time to like think things through because that's not how I was previous to meeting you. Yeah. Like I was not good with conflict. I'd say I'm better at it now. But
with all the conflict that we had.
We have like barely any conflict.
I think part of the reason like we have conflict, but like
it's not like major though.
I think the reason it's not major is because when we have conflict, we talk about the conflict. We don't like let it fester and brew. Yeah, I think is part of the reason. Like it comes back to communication. Like saying, I didn't like when you did this.
Yeah.
And then we have a discussion and then you give me, you say your side and I say my side. And usually, we find a middle ground, a compromise of some sort.
Right. And I think that's great. And then we squash it, and then it's like we can move on to the next thing.
Yeah.
And I think just having that little bit of time for me to think about what I'm going to say is really helpful. I feel like if I do say things in the moment.
Yeah.
But in some cases, I feel like I need some time to think on that and think about what I want to say, so that I don't say something that I feel like I'm going to regret, or it's going to come out the wrong way. And I'm going to say something that I don't exactly mean.
Also, you say, I think what helps is you say that I need some time, which it's not just walking away or anything. You're I need some time to think about this. That's the communication piece right there.
Yeah.
And it's kind of interesting. So I think the whole communication piece is just talking about conflict when it happens, for us personally. So
I was just going to say, how has therapy helped you?
Therapy has helped me more of with emotions more. I think that's what therapy is for, but more of I don't talk about us so much in therapy. I talk more about I have anxiety or I was feeling sad or something like that. And sure, you come up sometimes, but it's more about, it's all about me. No, really it is.
I mean, most of the time I'm talking about me.
Right. So
it's my therapist.
It's talking about how can I get a new perspective on something, or see something in a different light, which is seeing it in a different perspective. And then sometimes when we have conflict or something like that, I want to be how can I change my behavior so that we have a better relationship.
Right.
So
I think it's played a super important role in both of our lives.
I wish it was so much cheaper. Unfortunately, it's not. It's expensive. You can get it through insurances and stuff, but sometimes insurance, anyway, depends on what you got. What we have, we end up paying quite a bit of money for it, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But we find it valuable, great. So it's
it's about just, we think of it as investing in ourselves.
Right. And then you can bring it to the other person. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's been super helpful for us to understand how to communicate with each other.
Yeah. Invest into yourself so that you can invest in your relationship.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
That's cute.
5 love languages gets you talking about communication and what you like. And it just all comes back down to communication.
Yeah,
definitely. I think that pretty much wraps it up. I'm just double checking. Oh, actually, there is one thing I want to add on. Tech tools and tips, right? And so one of the things, there's tons of apps out there for everything. One of the things I found in therapy was it's an emotions, I forget what it's called now. I think it's the emotions wheel. There's an app for it. Also, I bought a little, a piece of wood that has the emotions wheel printed on it. And then we use magnets to move what our emotions we're having at that day. And I think that's kind of cool too. I think you're more in tune with your emotions. I am not. And so that's something that helps me. And so it's something that's kind of nice that you can share together, where I can say how I'm feeling and then you say how you're feeling.
Right.
And so again, that's communication.
And also an app that you shared with me.
Yeah.
And you can connect with your partner or friend or something like that. And you can share your emotions every day. And then you can ping basically the other person to tell them how you're feeling.
Yeah. And it'll track your emotions and it'll ask you, where are you? Are you at work or are you at home or whatever? And then who are you with? And then you can then it gives you an idea of what, if you're feeling anxious.
Yeah.
What are, when are you usually feeling anxious?
Right.
When I'm at work. No.
Yeah, well, I mean.
The Sunday scaries.
Yeah,
no.
Sunday scaries for sure.
On Sunday at home.
Yeah.
At nighttime.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, it is a neat app. I need to get back into.
And it's free.
Yeah, I need to get back in. I don't know, actually.
My phone's the one that's using this to record, so.
I don't even know.
We'll put it in the description.
Yeah, for sure. There's so many good apps and things like that. Another one that I learned in therapy, which is more about love for yourself, which I think is still important with this episode. And that's the I am app.
Right, yeah.
I am statements. So basically feeds you a certain amount of I am statements or affirmations to say to yourself. And you can customize them
I like
to whatever
you can pick
you
different
need.
backgrounds.
Yeah, you can pick different themes and designs. And then you just get a little ping during the day, and it's like just something to say to yourself, like, I am confident in this XYZ. So that's kind of nice too. It's like a nice reminder during the day to say good things to yourself.
Yeah, it worked for a while. And then after a while, I got tired of it.
Yeah, me too. I think after a while it was like, are you still reading the affirmations? Like, no. Click this to start them again.
It's just an annoyance now, and now I'm
It was nice at first.
It was. Oh, yeah. No, I used it for like a month or two, and then fell off of it like most things.
Yeah.
Coming back to communication, it just makes our relationship much more enjoyable. And like I think it's the longevity of the will help with the longevity of our relationship as well.
Yeah, and I feel like every couple that has been together for a very long time that I've talked to has talked about communication being one of the biggest things that kept them together.
Yeah, because we're different people, different experiences, and then we're constantly changing. That's the other thing, right? Like, so completely. We're not the same people 4 years ago. So, Thank you for joining us on Brewed Together. We always enjoy having these podcasts. It's really fun for us.
Yeah.
So,
and down in the comments, we'd love to know your love languages, whether they fit in those 5 boxes that we mentioned, or if you've come up with something else. We'd love to know kind of more about how you express love, how you receive love.
Yeah. So we'll see you on the next episode. Bye.
Bye.